Well, hey there, everybody. So good to see you today. I am Dr. Edie Wadsworth. I'm the creator of a life mentoring school, and I help women get unstuck and create the life of their dreams. So I am really happy to be here today. We are talking about happiness and 3 ways that chasing happiness could be making you miserable. So if that just even that title resonates with you, I hope you will stick around and enjoy some awesome points that I want to make today about happiness. I think that we often feel like we should be chasing happiness. Can I get an amen if you feel like, yes, I want to be happier? And we just want to feel better. We want to escape a little bit from the stress of 2020. Can I get an amen? And I think it's just our human nature to want to feel better, to want to be happy, and to kind of chase it wherever it can be found. But what we're going to talk about today is that usually the easiest places to find it are not the places we want to spend our lives. And so I hope that as we go through these points, you'll think about your own life. You'll think about areas where you've been probably chasing happiness in this kind of way. And we're going to also talk about the thing that actually fulfills people instead. So if not happy, then what? What is better than happy? So we're going to talk about that too. So I'm really excited for you to be here. I'd love to know where you're joining us from. And if you're watching on the replay, I'm excited to have you here. Okay, so number 1. Why happiness is making us miserable. The pursuit of happiness is making us miserable. Number 1, it's a lie. And when I say happiness, I kind of mean those things that we kind of chase that make us feel better temporarily. And that is a lie. Our brain tells us, our brain is actually hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. We do not want to feel pain, and we will basically do anything to find a little bit of pleasure. So in your life, that might be you scroll through Facebook. Lately, maybe that doesn't give you pleasure, but sometimes you have a chocolate chip cookie. You go online and shop. That was always my seeking happiness of choice, was online shopping. Or you, have things that you shouldn't have. It could be even worse than shopping or worse than food. Maybe you drink too much or you whatever. You're just seeking a little bit of pleasure. You're seeking some happiness. You're seeking to feel better. And a lot of times when we do that, in the end, it's just worse because what we're choosing normally in that situation is instant gratification. We just want something to kind of make us feel better. I'd love to know what yours is. What's your favorite way to make yourself feel happy, to make yourself feel better, that's kind of an instant gratification kind of a thing? We all have them. There's no shame in it, but recognizing it can be really, really helpful. And often when we're chasing this sort of temporary feel better, temporary happiness, what we're forsaking in the process is true, deep, abiding joy and meaning. We're going to talk at the end about how you start going about getting that. It's not what you think, I promise you. But when we're chasing this sort of temporary instant gratification, the thing that we're forsaking, the thing that we're trading that for, is the actual life we want to live, which we almost never get to when we're chasing cheap happiness. We almost never get there by food or money or status or drink or whatever else. We don't get there that way. And so it's a lie. Now, the second thing that I feel like really robs us when we choose this way, why it's making us more miserable, is because there's sort of this false sense that we should only feel good feelings. That could not be further from the truth. And I've seen what we all do as a culture and what I've done my own self when I have been in periods of my life where I feel like I should just always feel good. I should just always be happy. And we see other people and we think, oh, she's always happy. Well, let me tell you something. I'm having a pretty good day today. I went to the gym. I slept well. There's no huge crisis. But yesterday, I had a crummy day. I felt terrible. The day before yesterday, I dropped my baby off to college. I took her from this tiny little kind of secluded town that we live in East Tennessee, and I dropped her off in downtown Pittsburgh. And as we were hugging each other before we left, I really hadn't had a big breakdown. And as we were hugging each other before she left, before she went back up to her room, and before my husband and I took off to head back home, she said, "Mom, I'm terrified." And that's when the floodgates broke. And it basically took me until this morning to recover. And I say all that to say that yesterday I had a really hard day. And pretty much when I talked to anybody, I cried. I cried about 7 different times yesterday. My husband came home last night and he said, are you finally feeling better? And I'm like, not really. And when people would ask me, how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm having a pretty crummy day. So I say that to say that if you look at my circumstances, I have everything I could ever wish for, in a way. And yet, I still have awful feelings, sad days, days where I'm disappointed. And one of the keys to life, I promise you, is allowing yourself to have days like that. Allowing yourself to feel what you feel, to not try to buffer it away, to not try to make it better for some temporary happiness, but just to allow it to do its work in your life. The work it will do in your life is it will become the fuel that you use to create the life you want. Buffering away and hiding from and numbing and running from negative emotion is one of the most toxic things we can do. We do not need to do that. We need to stop buying the lie that, maybe even some of the pills out there that you can take to feel better would feed you to say, oh, this is a happy pill. You can just feel happy all the time. That's not true. And I think we get so much further in our lives when we accept the fact that there's going to be about half negative and about half positive. It's going to be half beautiful and half brutal. It's going to be so much wonderful and so much heartache. And that is just because we're human. That's not because we're doing anything wrong. So I think that lie is very sinister and it sneaks in and we don't realize that we're buying into it. The last way that I want us to think about is, and this example to me comes from Christianity. So I want you to think of the example of Christ, and I want you to think of what his life was like. And when you think about sort of his best day, his best day wasn't that great, because most of you would agree, even if you aren't believers, that his best day was also kind of his worst day. The day that he gave his life, that he sacrificed everything willingly in order to bear the burdens of the world. And that event gave not only his life, but every life after it so much meaning. And I think we believe that we should be having some kind of, worldly happiness. We should all just be happy. We should all the time, everything should go well for us. Well, I think we've all discovered in 2020 that that's not true. It's just not what it is to be human. And if 2020 hasn't taken away all your gumption and hasn't beaten you within an inch of your life, there will be something coming that will. And how we prop ourselves up against that and how we infuse ourselves with the sort of courage and strength to get through that is not to seek temporary happiness, but to seek true, deep meaning. And that almost always comes, I hate to say this, from heartache, from trial, from suffering, from willingly taking on things that are hard, things that don't temporarily make us happy, and willingly doing that for ourselves and for our family, willingly bearing a heavy load for ourselves and for the people we love. If you've read Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, this is rule number 7. It's my favorite rule. Choose what is meaningful, not what is expedient. And often our culture tells us, you just need to be happy. Just do whatever it takes to be happy. But the lie that feeds us is so toxic, because when we do that, it leaves us empty. It leaves us feeling like, well, now what? Now what's my life about? Okay, I had all this pleasure. We're the most pleasure-seeking, hedonistic society that ever has been. And it's not serving us well. It's leaving us empty. It's leaving us seeking relief wherever it can be found. And I promise you that taking the stance that there's something better than happy, I promise you there is. And if you have resonated with what I've been saying today, you are going to love the class I'm teaching next week. It's a live webinar. It's going to be on Wednesday at noon. You do need to register for it. It will not be here on Facebook. It will be a live webinar. I would love to have you join me. You can go to lifeingraceblog.com/happiness. We're going to defeat all these myths about happiness. We're going to talk about how to take the steps in your life to get true meaning and joy instead. I don't want you to miss this class, you guys. I have been pouring my heart and soul into it. I can't wait to share it with you. So I hope you'll sign up for it. Just go to lifeingraceblog.com/happiness. Just click the link that's in the description and join us next week. I cannot wait to see you there. We will dive more into how you take the steps to infuse so much more meaning and purpose and joy into your life instead of chasing happy. Alrighty, I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye.